She called me Heartless, but she left first. I, 24F, have been carrying the weight of a story I never thought I would tell for the past 8 years. Even now, putting it into words feels like peeling away a scar that never properly healed. It stings, it burns. It opens memories I worked so hard to bury. But recent events have forced me to confront the truth I had long tucked away. I spent years convincing myself that I had made peace with the past, that I had moved on. But now, for the first time, I am saying it out loud. Not for pity, not for anyone's approval. I am saying it for myself, for clarity, for closure. I was born with a congenital nerve disorder that progressively limited my mobility. What began as a slight limp quickly became more serious. By the time I was 10, I was relying on crutches. 2 years later, I needed a wheelchair full-time. My diagnosis changed everything. It didn't take long for the cracks in my family to start showing. My father made it clear that he did not have the strength or the desire to raise a child with a disability. He said it out loud. I still remember the exact moment. He told my mother that I was going to ruin both of their lives, and that he was not going to stick around to let it happen. Then he walked out. He packed his things and left. No hugs, no goodbyes, no promises to stay in touch. He just left, and he never came back. After he was gone, my mother seemed to become someone else. At first, she looked like a fighter. She worked long hours at 2 different jobs, made sure I had what I needed, and told me we would always have each other. I clung to those words. She used to brush my hair and whisper, "It's you and me against the world." And I believed her. With everything in me, I believed her. But over time, the warmth in her voice faded. The affection disappeared. Her exhaustion slowly grew into resentment. Her comments shifted from tired sighs to sharp insults. She began to tell me that I had ruined her life, that I had taken everything from her, that she had nothing left because of me. At first, I thought she was just tired and overwhelmed. I told myself that if I could just be easier to care for, quieter, less needy, maybe she would love me again the way she used to. But no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. By the time I was 15, the things she said to me no longer shocked me. They just hurt. She told me I was a burden, that she wished she could go back in time and change things, that she was stuck in a life she never wanted, that I had taken everything from her and given her nothing in return. Then, on the morning after my 16th birthday, she woke me early. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. She said we were going on a little trip. I was confused but excited. She had forgotten my birthday, the day before, and part of me wanted to believe. She was trying to make it up to me. Maybe a day at the beach or a visit to a relative. Maybe something just for us. I packed a small bag and got into the car with hope, a rare emotion for me back then. But what happened next shattered me. She drove me 2 hours away to a state-run youth shelter. When we pulled into the parking lot, I asked her what we were doing there. She parked, turned off the engine, and looked at me with a blank expression. Then she said, "I cannot do this anymore. I need my life back." I remember the sound of my heart breaking. I begged her not to leave me. I cried until I could barely breathe. I grabbed the car door and refused to let go. I told her I would be better, that I would figure out a way to take care of myself. I pleaded for her to stay. But she reached over and pried my fingers off the door, one by one, then got back into the driver's seat and drove away, just like my father had done. She never even looked back. I was 16. I had nothing but a backpack and a heart full of questions I could not answer. The years that followed were nothing short of devastating. I bounced from shelter to shelter. I spent time in the foster care system. I moved from one unfamiliar bed to another, had food that never felt comforting, and lived among people who felt like strangers. I missed dances, holidays, and birthdays. I missed growing up. I fell behind in school, battled depression, and at times felt like I was barely surviving. But I kept going. I had no choice. I kept pushing forward, refusing to become the broken and bitter person they had assumed I would be. Eventually, I found my footing. I earned a scholarship to a university with a great disability support program. I studied harder than I ever thought possible. I graduated with honors. I now have a stable remote job in the tech industry. I also live alone in a small, cozy apartment with my cat, Jelly Bean. My life is not extravagant, but for the first time, I felt at peace. Then, my mother contacted me for the first time in 8 years. Out of the blue, she sent me a message. It was short and detached. She said she had been evicted, that she was sick and unable to work, and that she had nowhere else to go. Then she asked if she could move in with me. I stared at that message for a long time. A part of me wanted to scream. Another part of me wanted to cry. But I just felt numb. I took a deep breath and responded. I told her no. I reminded her that she had left me at a shelter when I was 16. She had abandoned me when I needed her the most. I told her the pain she caused was still with me and that I could not simply forget or forgive just because she was in trouble. I told her it was clear that she was not reaching out because she missed me or loved me. She was reaching out because she needed a place to stay. She replied just once, calling me cruel and heartless, and saying it was my fault she was suffering. After that, the messages from extended family started. Some were passive-aggressive. Others were openly hostile. They called me cold, ungrateful, and selfish. One cousin told me my mother had made a mistake out of exhaustion, and that I was punishing her for being human. My aunt said I was no better than my father, abandoning someone in their time of need. I felt the old guilt creeping back in. But something felt wrong, so I started asking questions. I contacted social services and confirmed her situation. She had been offered temporary housing, but she turned it down. She said the facility smelled bad and made her feel trapped. She preferred being homeless to staying somewhere she considered unpleasant. That told me everything I needed to know. I also learned that she had only reached out to me after hearing from a family member that I had a well-paying job. She assumed I had extra money and space. Her message was not about reconciliation. It was about survival. I was never her daughter again. I was just a backup plan. My therapist told me something that gave me the strength to move forward. She said, "You can forgive someone without letting them back into your life." I held on to that. It became my shield, so I made a choice. I blocked the relatives who harassed me. I cut off the guilt. I chose my future. I chose myself. Last week, I received an email from a hospital. My mother had collapsed outside a grocery store. She was admitted with severe dehydration and complications from an autoimmune disease. She had listed me as her emergency contact. I told the hospital staff that I could not take responsibility for her care. I explained that we had not had a relationship in years and that I had not consented to being listed as her contact. They understood and said a social worker would be assigned. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, asking myself whether I had done the right thing. I wondered what kind of daughter turns away from her mother in a hospital bed. I questioned whether I was as cold as they all said I was. But then I reminded myself of the truth. I had already tried to be her daughter. I had given everything I had to earn her love. I had survived abandonment, rejection, and trauma. I had rebuilt my life piece by piece. And I was not going to tear it all down for someone who had already left me behind. It's not about revenge or anger. It's about boundaries. About honoring the life I carved out for myself against all odds. Yesterday I received a letter in the mail. It was handwritten, messy, and came from a care facility. It was from my mother. In the letter, she said she was sorry. She admitted she had failed me. She said she had no excuses, only guilt that she buried for years. She said she thought about me every day, but did not know how to face what she had done. She asked for nothing. She just wanted me to know she regretted everything. Reading those words brought something I didn't expect. It didn't erase the past or undo the pain, but it gave me a sense of closure I never thought I would have gotten. I wrote back. I told her I wished for her healing. I told her I hoped she would find support and comfort. But I also told her I could not reopen any doors. I told her I had built a life that is steady, kind, and safe. And I would not risk it, not for anyone. Not even her. For the first time in my life, I'm no longer the villain in my own story. I am a survivor, someone who walked through fire and came out whole. Not untouched, but stronger. I am finally free. And just like that, we've reached the end. There's more on the way, so don't forget to like and subscribe.